Hi, my name is Abby Butler. I have been a watercolor artist for about 9 years, and I've been teaching watercolor for about 3. This is going to be a project for grades kindergarten through 3rd grade, and we're going to be learning a little bit about how to do wet on wet watercolor media. So wet on wet is going to be when you put down water and then put color on top of it. We're going to be using pan watercolors, regular watercolor paintbrushes, and just regular watercolor paper. So it's going to be a really easy group of things to be able to pick up from just any store, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, anything, any place that you can go for paint media. We're going to be doing cutouts of all of our projects and gluing them back together. The materials that we're going to be using are just watercolor paper, and paint brushes. And now we're going to gather up our materials and get started. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and lay out our paper for painting on. So I'm just using regular Canson watercolor paper. Like I said, this could be very easy to find pretty much at any art store. So I'm going to use 2 pieces. I'm not going to try and make too big of a bouquet today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it down. So what happens with watercolor paper is that when it gets too wet, it's actually going to fold up on itself. And we're going to try to prevent that as much as possible. This isn't going to completely keep it from buckling up, and that's what it's called, buckling. But it's going to make it do it a little bit less. So I'm going to go ahead and tape down these edges as tight as I can, because I want to keep the paper as flat as possible. And for this project, it's not really necessary to stay too close to the edges, but I'm going to do that because I want to use as much of this paper as possible. Whenever I'm painting, I try and use as much of my paper as possible. So when I'm doing my own projects, I usually will use about half to a quarter of the page instead of the whole page, because I don't really need to be using all of the paper at once for my projects. But for this one, we're going to be using a little bit more. Let's see if I can get my tape to work correctly. This is masking tape. You don't ever want to use duct tape on watercolor paper. That duct tape will rip it, and this is not the most expensive masking tape, but it is going to work for what I need it to do. You can also use painter's tape. That won't damage it. You just have to be careful when you're taking the tape off of the paper to do it slowly so that you're not ripping the paper. Let's see if I can get this done at all. I'm going to call this my curly masking tape from now on. And then once we get the paper all taped up, we're going to start laying water down on it right away. There's no need for you to take time to wait for it to settle or anything. You just got to set it up and get started. I'm going to use probably one of the biggest brushes that I have, and I'm going to take just water, and I'm going to spread it on the paper. And I don't know if my hand cam can see this, but you can already see that it's already kind of buckling up. That's why we tape it. And we're just going to spread the water all over the paper. If you can't see pools of water on your paper, you don't have enough water on it. I'm going to do that for both of them, and I'm going to try and do it quickly so it doesn't evaporate. And now I'm going to pick which page I want to use for my flower stems and my leaves, and which one I want to use for my flowers. So both pages are super wet. And now I think I'm gonna use this one for my stems and leaves because I'm activating my greens first. We're gonna use that for the stems and leaves, and we're gonna use this one for the flowers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and use all my greens right away. And we're just trying to keep our brush as wet as possible, so we're gonna make a mess. And you can make a mess, and that's okay, because once it dries, it's gonna be super pretty. And I'm probably gonna mix some other colors in there, because stems aren't always green. I think I want some brown in there too, not black, but brown. We're gonna put some brown in there. Oop, see, paper dried up super fast right there. So if you have dry paper, you can just add a little bit more water, and then you can apply the color. And we really want it to be kind of uniform around here. See, we've got some pretty feathering right here, and over here there's a little bit more lininess. That's because there wasn't enough water. So if you see that there's lininess and you don't like that, you can add more water on top of it, and you can add more color on top of it. Now we're just gonna go ahead and let this one dry. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that color. Maybe I'll add a little bit more green in here. Just a little. That looks like a lot, but it's a little. We're gonna go ahead and let it dry. Now we're gonna move on to flowers. And let's see, my favorite color of flowers are blue. So I think I'm gonna go with blue. See, that tape's really holding the paper. That's why it's good to tape it down. I'm gonna add a little bit more water because it dried up while I was doing the other bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take blues, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Just gonna spread the blue over the paper. I'm getting a little bit of green mixed up into it, but that's okay. I'm not going for perfection. I'm probably gonna mix in some purple too, because purple flowers are pretty. I think my favorite flower is lilacs because they smell good. And I like their flowers. So we can mix them together, or we can kind of keep them apart. Either way. But we really want it to be smooth. I don't want any lines in it. If you like lines, you can do it with a little bit less water. But I want it to be very smooth. Put a little bit more purple in there. And I think I want to add some more color over here. I think I had a little bit too much of just one type of blue. That's pretty. Let me just mess it up. So see, because it's buckling right here, we really want to keep it from doing that as much as possible, and that's why we tape it down. Or else we're going to get these pools of color that are going to be really pretty, and these mountains of nothing that aren't going to have any color. So we want to get a little bit more color on top of those if we can. We might have to dry this one and add a little bit more color to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and dry these up because I want to add a little bit more color on top of it. And I want it to be very vibrant. So I'm going to go ahead and dry it, and then I'm going to add more color on top of it. I'm using an embossing tool, but you can also use just a regular hair dryer for this. Okay. Okay, so now that the paper is dry, sorry. Okay. So now that the paper is dry, we're gonna go ahead and go in and add more color to it. I think I'm gonna use the same colors, but apply them a little bit differently. Let's see. Add just a little bit of water. And tap in the color. And then I'm going to smear this around a little bit. This one I think I'm okay with having some lines in. You don't have to always put the water down first. I just like to do that for my first layer. Let me do some petal patterns. But just make sure you get to where you are really happy with your color. And I think I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and dry it again. Same thing, embossing tool. We're just going to not get it too close to the paper, but close enough to where it's going to go ahead and help it flatten out a little bit more. Okay, so now that I have it mostly dry, I have a couple of pools of water and paint. So I'm going to go ahead and just take some just regular paper towel. You can use tissue, you can use whatever you want to use. And we're just going to gently clean up this right here. I'm just going to go ahead and tap it everywhere. And that will get rid of those pools of water so that we can use the paper. Okay, and I think this one's almost dry. Still feels a little bit cool, but I'm gonna go ahead and let that one dry completely while I take this one. And what we're gonna do now is we're going to cut out flowers. So we're going to really gently remove the masking tape. And the masking tape is probably going to be a little bit wet if you did anything like I did. But that's okay, as long as you have some water to clean it up. Watercolor is a great tool to use if you don't like doing long cleanups, because all it takes is just a little sponge with water and it'll wipe right up. Won't stain your clothes. None of that nonsense. Okay, so I don't even have a pencil to mark out my flowers. See, just wipe that up. To mark out my flowers. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freehand some flowers. And see, I have some petals in here. I have some really cool little mixtures of color. And we're just going to go ahead and cut out flowers kind of willy-nilly. We're just going to let the paper work for us. I think I'm going to cut out some circles first, and then cut out the petals from that. And I'm going to use as much of this paper as possible. So even if I'm only getting like half moon circles, I'm just going to go with it. And you can do these as many sizes as you want to. So I'm going to do this one a little bit smaller. Maybe the next one a little bit bigger. I really like the way that these colors mixed up. And one more after this one. Okay, now I'm going to set the rest of this aside with the rest of my junk. And I'm going to go ahead and cut these into flowers. And I'm probably actually going to cut some of these sharp edges off. And just cut little V's into them. They don't have to be fancy. Okay, like that. And it is probably better if we have all of these a little bit more circular. So we're making petals out of these now. Okay, so now that we have them all cut out, we're going to actually fold them up a little bit. We're gonna make actual little flowers out of these guys. And you don't have to fold them up too much, but we do want to have a little bit of a cup to them. And this is cool because you can actually glue them like this, or you can just leave them as petals. We're probably gonna do both. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold these up all just a little bit because they're still a little bit wet, and that actually is good for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold all of these up right now so that we have those ready for after we cut the stems. Okay, so these all turned out so pretty. I think that in another lifetime I would put in like some glitter, or like some, I'd even get some like confetti and put some glue in here and fill them up, put some innards of flowers on them. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut out some stems and leaves right now, and then we'll decide at the glue stage what we're gonna do. So now I'm going to be cutting out the stems, and it's just a straight line. You can cut out stems in different shapes if you want to, but I'm going to just cut out a straight line here. And I think I'm going to use, let's see, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stems. So I'm going to cut out 10 stems, and then I'm going to cut out some leaves as well. I'm just going to cut the ends off where it was taped so that we have a full green stem. And then we'll get started on the leaves. I think I'm just going to cut out just some eye-shaped leaves for now. Those are going to be the quickest. Plus, we're going to fold them too, just like we did with the flowers. We're probably going to have tons of leaves. Cut them a little bigger. Okay, so now that we have all of our pieces, we're going to start organizing them and putting them together the way that we want to have them. So I have all my stems and all my leaves, and what I'm going to do with my leaves is I'm going to actually fold them up a little bit like I did with the flowers, because we want them to have a little bit more of a 3D effect too. And we're going to do that with all of them. And you don't have to fold them all the way. I actually kind of like only half folding them so that it comes out a little bit. And if you have the thinner leaves, like I did here, what you can do is you can just take your finger and you can push down in the middle and push up with your other two fingers. And then you can get a good fold out of that, and that's a good starting fold. So you can actually take that fold and take it for the rest of the leaf if you want to do it that way. And again with that, if you have the thinner ones, take two fingers and push down with your thumb and fold it up, and then continue the fold. I think I'm going to put this really big leaf over on this side. I'm going to start organizing these ones in here. It doesn't have to be exact because we're going to lose the place with so many pieces, but you can just get a good idea of where you want things. Okay, so now that we have all of those, I'm going to go ahead and start gluing them together. Just using regular Elmer's glue, easy to find, Walmart. You can also use hot glue. It dries a little bit faster, but this is a little bit easier to find and cheaper. We're going to have to let these dry before we put the leaves on. So for each one of these, we're just going to take a little bit of glue We're going to put it on the end of the stem, okay? Just a little bit. You don't need too much, and you don't need to put any on the flower. And then we're just going to take the base of the flower and we're going to stick it on there. And then we want to set it down and leave it alone so that it will dry properly. And we're going to do that with all of them, and we're going to let them dry. Okay, now that we have all of the flowers on the stems, we're going to go ahead and leave them alone and let them dry for a little bit so that they don't fall apart when we move them. So now these are dry enough to mess with. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of organize them into a way that I like them, because I kind of want to be able to glue them all together. If you don't like that, if you want to just keep them separate and put them in a little vase, you can do that. But I'm going to glue mine together. So now I'm going to start putting on the leaves. And same thing with the leaves as with the flowers. We're just going to take a little bit of glue, and we're going to take our leaf and we're going to put glue on the leaf, and we're going to stick it on to the stem. And we're going to do that with all of our leaves. And you can put more than one leaf on a stem if you want to, or you can use all of your leaves on different stems. So they're a little bit tippy because I put the folds in them, but as long as it is on the paper at all, it should work for you. So we can push them down just a little bit if we want to flatten that out, but we don't want to take away too much of that fold, so we can flatten them out just a little. It was probably a little bit too big for this stem. I'm going to make it work though. And last one. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and let these ones dry. Now that these are dry enough, we're going to go ahead and organize them and glue them together. So I think that I want the ones that don't have as many leaves in the back, because that'll make them easier to glue together. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the ones that I didn't put leaves on. I'm going to set them aside to get ready to glue them together. And you can cross them up like this is the easiest way to get started on the gluing. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just put a little dot of glue, just like I did with the flowers and the leaves, and I'm going to cross the stems on each other. And we're just going to leave it like that, and we don't really want to move it from here. So we're gonna just pick a spot where it's comfortable for us to do this. So the whole thing is gonna happen right here. Again, a little dot right there, and glue them together, okay? Now, let's see, let's go ahead and go from least leaves to most leaves. So this one only has one, and we're gonna let these guys dry. So, same thing. This one I think I'm going to go ahead and put the dot of glue in a different spot, but just a little bit lower. And the glue's still really wet on the other ones, so you want to be careful to not move them too much. And I'm going to go ahead and put this one a little bit lower on the stems. And let's go ahead and make sure those are all stuck together really well. Now the next one, I think I'm going to put right here, but I'm gonna put it behind this leaf. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. And make sure you check under them a little bit every once in a while to make sure you're not gluing them to the table. It's also probably a good idea to have a piece of paper or something under them. See how I have this plastic here on this table, so that things aren't getting glued to the table. Okay, and put the next one up a little bit higher. We're gonna stick it right here. This is where hot glue comes in handy, because you know where you've messed up. Okay, and I've got one last one that we're gonna go ahead and put over the top of the leaves. I'm gonna make sure that this one sticks really well so that everything is all together. Okay. And again, make sure you move it. See how I got a little bit of glue on the table? We want to keep as much glue off the table as possible. Okay. Next one, got 2 leaves. Scooch that in there. Okay. Next one. Let's see, how do we want to do this? Can still move the leaves a little bit because they're still a little wet. So I'm going to have to redo this after. It's falling apart. Okay, and we just got one more. And got a leaf fall off. Oops. That's okay. We'll just squeeze that back on there. And last one we're going to put right here. We're going to stick to this one. And now we're going to go ahead and let this one dry. So now we have our finished product. This is a watercolor flower bouquet, and now we can either put it onto another piece of paper with a background so that you can hang it on the wall, or you can use a bit of string to glue to the back of it and hang it on a wall like that. So today we laid out our paper, we put water down and added the color to the paper. I showed you how to dry everything up. We had a couple of ways to do that. And then we cut out all of our pieces and then glued them back together, and we made a watercolor flower bouquet. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.